Hi, anatomy students. I'm going to share with you some things about connective tissue proper. This is venison, right? This is a delicious cut of deer meat. And I made some steaks the other night, and I cut 6 steaks from the middle of a quadricep muscle group. And so I brought with the stew ends, the ends that are full of connective tissue proper. When we eat meat, we often are looking for those tender fibers of muscle. And these are a different type of tissue. This is, in this case, skeletal or striated muscle tissue. And that's what we like to eat. It's myoglobin rich, meaning it has this oxygen-carrying molecule in it that makes it nice and red. On the outside is the stuff we don't really like to eat, and that's the connective tissue proper. In this case, this is dense, regular connective tissue, and it forms a sheath around the entire muscle bundle. So now I'm going to diverge from deer and go to human. The biceps brachii, if you're watching this, take your fingers and feel inside your elbow until you find like a cable in there, right? And if you bend your elbow a little bit and squeeze, now you can really feel that. That is the biceps brachii tendon that attaches to your radius bone. This tendon is a convergence of connective tissue proper, in particular, dense regular connective tissue. And the dense regular connective tissue goes from the tendon and then branches out and forms sheaths around all the muscle bundles. It then converges again on the other side of the bicep and attaches to its origin on the shoulder. So tendon is a convergence of dense regular connective tissue. If you look at it carefully, you can see it has parallel fibers. Those parallel fibers are why we call it regular. Irregular connective tissue is not parallel. Irregular connective tissue makes kind of a mesh, right? And so if we look at the next one here, here's a cut of meat, and you can see kind of in the middle, there's some webbing in there. That is irregular connective tissue. Irregular connective tissue supports the various parts and confers immunity. There's immune cells patrolling along there. So when we look at its texture, it's much thinner and more fragile. And so you can see that it's like kind of like a web. So that is irregular connective tissue proper. There's a third one that I see here, and that's adipose tissue. And adipose tissue is where you find fats. And adipose tissue is also going to be kind of irregular in its nature. You see that? There is some adipose tissue right there. I know adipose tissue is different because it's easily torn, whereas your dense regular connective tissue is not easily torn. I'd better review, is adipose tissue regular or irregular? How about you look it up and you tell me, okay? Meanwhile, and yes, I'm admitting ignorance there. I don't know everything. I have to look this stuff up too. This right here, here's more tendon. This is the best example of dense regular connective tissue. Again, in here, I've got some irregular connective tissue and some adipose tissue. Adipose tissue being easy to tear, and those cells, a lot of those cells carry fat. Adipose tissue is important. Those fat cells can swell up and increase the amount of fat they're storing when the animal is well nourished. So there you have it. There's adipose tissue, irregular connective tissue, dense regular connective tissue, which forms the muscle bundle sheaths and the tendons. And I got one more for you too, and this one's a little gory, but you also have, of course, the connective tissue known as blood. So blood, connective tissue proper, and then we're going to get later on into bone and cartilage are the 4 major categories of connective tissue: blood, cartilage, bone, and the connective tissue proper. All of these, the irregular tissue, the adipose tissue, and the dense regular connective tissue, are connective tissue proper. I hope that's helpful. And that was a one-take wonder in biology, complete with a mistake. So you look it up and tell me, is adipose tissue regular or irregular? I'd really like to know.